6 o'clock, I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up is the approval of the agenda.
I will move for the approval of the agenda for August 27, 2024.
Second. Been moved and second. Is there any discussions? All those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed say no. We have an approved agenda. Next up is public hearing. I believe we need a motion to open the public hearing? Or not?
I believe the mayor can just open it.
Yep, I think you can just.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we are open for public hearing on the Commercial Rehabilitation District. Scott, would you like to give us a little dissertation on this?
I will. The Commercial Rehabilitation District, and I'm going to use my cheat sheets and go off of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's two-pager. What the Commercial Rehab District basically does is allow for an abatement on new investment, tax abatement on new investment for up to 10 years. By saying new investment, the state treasury has ruled, because the act gives them the right to interpret the law, that it's on rehabilitation and not on brand new. The best example is Dairy Treat. They had applied for a new roof as well as the rooftop deck. The state approved the roof, but not the rooftop deck, because that's not, what they're trying to do is preserve downtown structures, and they've since moved it outside of downtowns, as we're looking to do tonight. They approved one for what is now Fetch, when it was under prior ownership, for some roof work as well as some cement work on the walls, pointing what you have for that. The property has to be 15 years older, commercial, multifamily, or vacant property, and multifamily has to be 5 or more units. There are retail food establishments that qualify. Those are supermarkets, grocery stores, produce markets, delicatessens that offer unprocessed meat and poultry products or meat products that carry a certain organic seal from the USDA, fresh fruits, vegetables, and dairy. Land and personal property are not eligible, nor are sports stadiums or casinos. So what we're looking at, we currently have one based around our downtown. We've had that for a few years, and as I said, there's already been 3 that have been approved. The process is to come to the city and ask for your approval, and then once you get they get your approval, we send it to the state of Michigan for their concurrence. So it takes both sides to approve. The one we're looking at is going to go from the eastern edge of the current commercial rehab district, pretty much to the city limits out on Colby Street, north-south. It jogs a little bit. I think you've got a map there, so it's not a straight line, but what I did is I included all of the commercial and residential property that would most likely qualify. So it's a 2-step phase. The property has to qualify, and then the project has to qualify. And I think that's probably it in a big nutshell.
And right now, short duration, unless it gets changed.
Yeah, and I haven't heard or seen anything, but it does sunset in that no new commercial rehab tax abatements can be granted after December 31 of 2025.
So we've got a little over a year.
Correct.
If somebody went into an existing building and it was a totally different business than what was there before, would that qualify?
It would, as long as it met one of these eligible criteria. Restaurants on the face do not qualify. They talk about, somewhere in here it talks about offices for engineers, research and development, warehousing, parts distribution, retail sales, etc. So yeah, the change of ownership and a change of use doesn't disqualify it, providing it still meets the criteria.
Question? Scott, what would be an appropriate timetable for, like, if we say we want to do this, and then, we would entertain projects, what would be, when would we see something happen possibly?
If you move for approval tonight of the district, then we send that to the state of Michigan, and they basically approve it by receipt of it. And after that point, anybody can make application. And it's a short process from our perspective. If somebody submitted one, we would submit it to the council at the very next available council meeting.
Question. Is it tax abatement for 10 years then for any of these?
It can be up to 10 years.
Oh,
The city council has the right to say, well, it's not a big project, we're only gonna go 5 years.
is it 50% or 100%?
It's 100% on the rehabilitation improvements.
So we can do any year of abatement?
Correct.
Okay.
Up to 10.
And that's on the value of the improvement, not the overall tax bill.
Okay, okay.
So they wouldn't get,
Half of their taxes off, okay.
There's no way to even estimate how much money would involve. How much money would be kept out of the general fund for that time? 'Cause we don't know how many projects it would be or anything.
Yeah, at this point, there's no way to guess. Once somebody submits an application, like Harwood Flats, Dairy Treat, and Lisa Schwartz, Bone Fetch prior. Once they submit it, then we can run those numbers.
And is there much in the way of legal expense to set this up?
No, none at all.
Okay.
And quite
I mean,
honestly,
I shouldn't say none at all, very little.
So our attorney doesn't get paid?
Not really involved, it's not, yeah.
A lot of what we've done so far has not really involved the attorneys, but it could. I mean, we've always got something budgeted for legal expenses in pretty much all of our funds.
Can I ask just an off tangent question?
yes,
Is there anything like this for neighborhoods? Residential neighborhoods?
There's, and I'd have to do some research. I think there's the neighborhood enterprise zones. And I think that's about the only thing.
What is that?
I think that's an incentive program with the state of Michigan, and I'd have to do some research to get some more details on it. Back in, I'm not sure when they recodified all of the TIFAs, the brownfields, the commercial corridors, they got rid of a lot of them, because I think the state's starting to get away from that, so I don't have a whole lot of hope that this will be renewed. But I mean, it's a local tool. The taxes don't really affect the state operations as much as they would local city, schools, fire, ambulance, everything else.
I'd be interested in knowing more about that.
Yep, I can look that up.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, correct?
yes, sir.
So anybody from the audience can come up and ask questions or comment or whatever. It's
Yes.
just for us here.
That's correct. Anybody in the audience that has questions concerning this is your opportunity to present those questions and hopefully get a
Okay, just as you were discussing it, my name is Jim Schmidt, I live over on Division Street there. I'm not quite catching, or I didn't catch when or what are the boundaries of this new district?
essentially it goes from the city limits down to
Whitehall Township?
the city limits this direction.
that direction.
That direction
To the alley between Livingston and Baldwin,
yeah, so
north and
block
south.
and a half.
So it wouldn't be outside of our city limits?
No,
Okay, they answered the question, thank you.
yes. Anyone else have any questions?
Would a project need to be completed by the end of next year, or would it just need to be started or planned, or?
It needs to be started. The abatement actually Like any abatement is incremental. December, it's tax day. December 31st. So if somebody's got, let's say, $1 million project, and they get approval for the 10 years, and in that first year, they've only got $800,000 completed, that's what they'll get an abatement on for that year. The following year, if they get to the $1 million, then they would get the full $1 million. So it's kind of it's an incremental based upon the completion and the start date.
I think with any construction project, it has a time limit that from the time they take out a permit, they have so long to, it's not an indefinite period to do the work that they requested the permit to do.
Well, that can be a gray area, as long as they're progressing forward.
Right.
I think many of us will remember a red building over in Montague. That was under construction forever. Not to pick on our neighbors.
I've never done this before. Okay. In my letter said 6:30, so I apologize for being late, but I missed part of it. We live right on the corner by Bonan's. I guess I'm kind of wondering what this is about because we missed it.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I'll give an even briefer.
Yeah, brief is fine.
The businesses, retail establishments, and certain offices and multifamily, if they do certain improvements, primarily restoration of the building, then the value of that could be tax exempt for up to 10 years. So if somebody were to do a new roof for $50,000, that could qualify to be tax-free on that $50,000 for 10 years.
Okay.
Or for whatever amount we decide, right, Scott?
I think your only option here is for the actual term. I don't believe the dollar amount is subject matter of council approval or not.
Oh, I thought you said we could have it for up, how many years we decided.
The time.
Yeah,
the
the
timeline.
time.
is decided,
You know.
yeah.
Okay,
But
sorry.
if they have a $100,000 project, you can't say, well, we'll give you
Oh,
$100,000.
sure. Okay, I misunderstood, sorry.
Okay, so it's not like taking over. That's what I was.
No,
Okay.
there's no taking over. It's the council's approaching this to try and give incentives to improve that corridor.
Okay. Thank you.
It's not for residential, correct?
Multifamily, 5 units or more, which I don't know. Some do qualify. The ones next to or adjacent to Funnel Field.
So this isn't like Tifa where we're capturing tax funds. This is just for abatements only?
Correct.
So it's not like, the only money that we would be losing to the general fund would be as if we approved an abatement.
But that would be on new construction, which we wouldn't get any money anyways until the new construction happens. So we'll still collect on the whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anything new, I mean, we're not losing because we're not catching anything, we're not getting it back from what I understand.
Thank you.
Well, I guess, my feeling is that if I had a business along that strip, I would be bothered by the fact that everybody to the west in the Tifa district has been getting deals, or had the ability to get deals for a long time. So I think out of fairness, I'd be wanting to approve this. I'd probably say for 5 years as opposed to 10-year abatement or whatever, but I think it'd be a good opportunity for some folks to make some improvements to their business and feel like we've taken care of businesses by doing that.
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, I guess if we have no further comments, then we'll close the public hearing and move along to our consent agenda. Next up is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
You wanna go first?
Well, I just have one easy one.
Okay.
Has the school come up with any plans for a pick up and drop off thing?
for mine.
I figured it probably was.
Doesn't
Um,
matter, it's on the table.
No, we, the staff, myself, the chief, and the public works director were out there Monday for drop-off and pickup, along with CJ Van Weeren, who is, I think he's interim superintendent. And we also met with a number of IDID staff, because Roger and Brian were at this end, I was at the school, kind of divided and conquered. The school's position is if there's something that we are recommending, they'll take a, they'll, I guess, consider it, because we have jurisdiction over the street. And we didn't know if this was gonna come back more as a work session discussion, or if you wanted something before that. But at this point, we don't really see any alternatives. It's a growing fad where parents are driving their kids to school now. I think there are 12 less cars this year because school enrollment's down. Not that you're gonna notice that. I think from the first car lining up to the last car pulling out with the kid or dropping the kid off, it was less than half an hour, both times for drop off and pickup. Drop off is a lot easier because the parents just kind of come in, drop the kids off, and they're on their way. Pickup, everybody wants to be at the front of the line, so they start stacking up a little bit earlier. I think we only had one vehicle slow down as if they were going to stop on Colby Street, and then I think they just went on their way and came back around and they actually stopped. Okay. So at this point, I don't think staff's got any great solutions. Well, we still kind of liken it to shift change at Howmet. It's an inconvenience. I think a lot of the parents have learned to figure it out without a whole lot of hazard. I mean, anytime you get a lot of cars anywhere, you're open to something happening. Chief, I don't know if you got anything to add? We did talk about putting, stopping, standing, or parking signs on Colby. Just, you can't do it now anyway, but sometimes people have to have a visual reminder. Brian Armstrong's gonna talk to MDOT and the road commission people and see if they would even allow that. Don't know why they wouldn't. Just a little bit more of a visual. The schools are gonna send out a reminder to those parents that please don't block intersections, driveways, or I think it's those two that they're gonna send them out. So, I don't know, we've got nothing to change anything. We did look at the curb edge. We didn't really see any deterioration. I mean, curb edges that aren't curbed are eventually over time gonna get worn down and start breaking.
So, I think this is a problem that's caused by the school, and I don't see why we should be spending all this time doing anything about it, because it's not, we give them a good road to drive on, and there's rules for driving on those roads, and they're causing a problem. So I think the people should be complaining to the school board. Why should we go to the school board with solutions when they're the ones that should be coming to us with solutions?
Well, to answer that, and I'm not arguing your point, the schools feel what they're doing is adequate from a safety perspective, both vehicular and the students. You read the headlines way too often where incidents happen at school. In fact, if I could pick on someone, Monday morning there was a couple of calls to school asking why there's a tall gentleman in a blue shirt with a handgun on his hip walking up and down in front of the school, which is actually great.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Because people were observant and
Paying
wondering
attention.
what's going on. So on pickup, I made sure, as soon as staff came out, I said, hey, in fact, I knew a couple of the staff members, and in fact, one looked at me and said, you do not have a kid this young. And I said, no, I don't. This is why I'm here.
Yeah.
So I think, the schools are satisfied with what's going on. I think staff is. There's probably 1,000 different solutions out there maybe, but we don't see any. Like I said, it's a growing fad where parents are dropping their kids off. In fact, some go from Shoreline to the middle school to the upper elementary and just scoop them all up in a pattern. So, we're open to suggestions, obviously. other than the high school, I mean, everything at the high school is completely off-site because they have such a large area. But even sometimes the students trying to go left and head east, you know, that often causes some issues.
Only thing I could think of is stagger the release time for different grades or whatever.
No,
They
that,
want us to come up with solutions, well,
well,
there's mine.
well, they're not asking for solutions. They're fine with the way it is. This city council, at least a couple of you, have expressed concerns. And staggering it, we did have we've had a number of conversations with the superintendent, the interim superintendent, myself with a couple of the teachers. Staggering is difficult because if you say, this grade gets picked up at 320, and then this grade gets picked up at 340, that parent might have a kid in both of those grades. So are they gonna sit there? For the pickup, which is a little more difficult, they had a teacher in the safety vest and she was doing pretty good, yelling at those parents that were stopping. I mean, she wanted them pulling up as far as they could off the street edge, or off the street lane. So I guess that's kind of where we're at. The schools, and I've spoken with Dr. McDowell. He's satisfied with the way the setup is. But he also said that if the city dictates something else, then they would have to comply. And there's no room on site really for all those cars to get off. Same at Shoreline. Shoreline on Division, Livingston, Market, they're all backed up for, again, a half hour, twice a day, 5 days a week.
I'm not satisfied with that there isn't a solution, but I offered one at the last meeting about, having it bend right at the end of the school and go in front of the school's property all the way down, instead of making the only main road that there is from Alice Street to Colby Street, besides Warner and Division. You're making it one lane for a half an hour twice a day. And it's, I just don't think it's right. We're not protecting, they might be protecting the kids, but we're not protecting the people that are driving up and down the road. So sooner or later, there's gonna be an accident or somebody's gonna get hit. And then somebody's gonna wanna sue the city because we didn't do anything about it and it's already been brought up.
I wouldn't think we're exposing ourselves to undue litigate. I can say anybody can litigate at any time, but I don't think our liability is any worse today than.
I just think there is a solution to it. It's a matter of somebody wanting to take the initiative to initiate it.
And we'll initiate whatever directive council gives us. So if council says this is the way it's going to be, then we're going to have to implement it, and schools are going to have to live with it.
So Livingston wouldn't work in their part?
Pardon?
Have them line up on Livingston off of Alice, come to that other door instead of the front door?
They're trying to maintain
One
one
entrance.
location. They had 4 teachers out there, and some were actually walking the kids further down versus waiting for the parent to get up there, so the parent can kind of snake out of the line.
Are they running them down the road farther towards Alice also, or are they all just stopping in that little U?
They're stopping in that little U
Okay.
area. Last fall, they tried running them down Livingston, but that didn't really make that big of a difference.
They reconfigured that whole school because they wanted one point of entry, just related to school safety.
Right.
So that was the main reason for that. And they're very particular about, where the kids go in and who goes in, and rightfully so. I mean, for if it helps, Scott. I mean, I've lived on Alice my whole life, and maybe I'm just not getting up early enough, but I've never had a problem with it myself. I go up and down Alice. I tend to use Warner more, because it's right around the corner from me. But I've never experienced it myself, having to navigate down there. But that doesn't mean it's not a problem. Are there a number of residents who've been complaining?
Haven't had any complaint.
We had,
Well, one business,
we had the one business.
Was- on one occasion, she couldn't back out.
Yeah, and that would be, okay. Well, my
Signage there.
if there were, and I agree, they should go to the school board. And if that's an issue, because it is a school thing that they're doing, but I don't know what the solution is. It's,
I don't know if there's any way to make clear vision areas on those corners or not,
that'd be something to do.
you know, just, I don't.
I don't either.
Because those people pull up and leave their butt end out the road versus a sign. You know, again, it's all gonna be about signage and everything else as far as, you know, no stopping, standing or parking from here towards the, you know, we figure out how many feet we want between there and the intersection, and you can't park in that area, but again, we gotta have compliance on their part and enforcement on our part, which I don't wanna give these guys much more stuff to do. So.
And with what I observed last spring and again this fall, I don't know if that's really been a problem with people blocking the intersections. If you do clear vision areas, what you're doing, I know this isn't gonna sound too good, but you're eliminating more stacking. So you're gonna have the potential of having more cars actually backing out onto Colby Street. Because you know, if you do that at every intersection, you're probably gonna lose 2, 4, 6, 8.
Probably 8 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
100 feet, probably.
All right, so we have a consent agenda. Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question on accounts payable. What is the job description of an intern at the Playhouse?
It varies by exactly what that intern's doing. Sometimes it's stage management, sometimes it's theatrical production, sometimes it's backstage. Our box office, I think that's the particular one. So basically, it's somebody who's in school, who's trying to get some experience.
I just noticed we paid quite a bit of money in this last 2-week account payable to, you know, interns. I just wondered if it had anything to do with the running of the Playhouse, or if it's more to do with running of the activities that are going on at the Playhouse.
I think, was it just for the box office?
It's just for summer theater.
So
They
it was
work the
fellowship.
whole summer and then they get paid at the end.
I mean, I guess,
Essentially like a marina job. I mean, it's,
How do they come up with needing 4 interns? That's,
Well, that's a decision of the Playhouse manager. She takes a look at what kind of production she's having and determines what kind of staffing she needs.
is it because she needs staffing, or is it just because we're trying to give experience? I guess
No, she needs the staffing. We had a report done by Bill Johnson when we got a $250,000 grant from the Johnson Foundation, and what they did is they sent along an expert to take a look at the operations, kind of like, if we're gonna give you money, we wanna make sure it's being operated in the best manner possible. And I think that study came back and said that a theater that size with that amount of production, I think it recommended 5 full-time staff. So of course we said, no, we're not there yet, love to be there, support 5 full-time staff. So Beth pretty much gets by with herself being a one-woman act, with Cindy Beth there as support, and then interns during the summer, as well as stage managers, costumers. It does take a village to run a theater.
We'd be probably paying out more if we had quote regular staff, wouldn't we?
Do you know anything about the line? They've got box office sub for none such. And they paid $488 for that. Was that,
Is that for the whole summer?
I mean, maybe that's more specific than you know right off, but Is that somebody selling tickets for one show?
Yeah, where you at? Where,
I think it's a run, isn't it, of the whole, the play? maybe?
oh. Okay. Yep, that would have been, Brooke, who's got a better handle on the finances, said that was a 2-weekend, 8-day show, or 8 days. So that person probably worked 8 days at the box office.
But it says sub, was that because somebody was on vacation or? I'm just kind of curious. It seems like a lot for a substitute if that's what that means.
We would have to look into that. Unless Brooke's got it right there at the fingertip. Yeah, it says box office, service box office sub, by the contract. And I don't know if that means that she substituted for that week because the regular, we had another box office person, couldn't make it?
Yes,
Okay,
she made a bit of that.
gotcha. Yep, so this person did sub for the box office for that period. So 12 through 14 and 19 to 21.
6 days.
All right. We have no further discussion. All those in favor of the consent agenda say yes.
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 Opposed say no.
No,
Consent agenda is approved. Next up is message from the mayor, city council, and city manager. Daniel?
Okay, just two things. One is short and one is long. The short one is just a reminder that, sorry, that I think it would be good for at least council to know what a notification plan might look like in the event of emergency. Now, I know some people said that we wouldn't have known about this. Somebody else told me it was on TV, the extreme storm that we had. I'm just trying to figure out, we're gonna have extreme weather again. I would like to know what our plan is. Maybe we need to hear from Renee from the county as a presentation, what they're doing, but I understand that they have the emergency plan, the 300 plan. That's not what I'm talking about, the 300-page plan. What I'm talking about is in the event of this type of emergency, how would we be letting our residents know? I know you have the text program that we have, but I think I'd like to know what it is. You know, I think we were very lucky not to have any injuries. I thought the way that staff worked with everybody was amazing. I can't compliment you enough on that. But I'd like to know going forward, what's the plan if we see another emergency that we might need to notify people about? And I would like to explore, you know, what communities are still using warning sirens and things like that. I'm also thinking about how my dad lived independently until he was 89. But he was hard of hearing and he didn't have the physical dexterity to have a cell phone. So, you know, we have different populations with, you know, a variety of needs, and I want to know how we're reaching those folks. And I don't know, maybe I know, Tom, you've talked to Renee, would that be good to see if she could come and chat with us?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, and if that's something that council wants, I think she's in charge of county emergency management. It wouldn't hurt to know what she's doing, how that relates to us. Oh, my second one, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I don't know if people know this, but this year, 2024, is the 10th anniversary of White Lake being delisted off the list of Great Lakes areas of concern. There were 43 of these areas noted in a treaty between the U.S. and Canada because we had pollution problems. And I was involved a long time ago. I had kids that weren't even in school and helped to start an advisory council to work with state and local government to kind of address. Some cleanup had happened. You all know we had filter chemical and some pretty egregious examples. We also had issues with municipal sewage, but there was more that needed to be done. And I was involved with a lot of people. By the time we got off the list, I had grandkids. So, and it was a big deal. And there are people who were involved in that who are gone now. Good people. We had hundreds and hundreds of meetings. It was a lot of work. And we are considered a success story in the Great Lakes because we work collaboratively with state and local government. So the official date was October 30th, 2014. I would like to ask for some thoughts on how we acknowledge this in our community. I think we need to remind people of what happened and the successes. I think it doesn't hurt to maybe even mention some issues that still need some attention going forward, like toxic algae in the lake, which is a problem with both White Lake and Muskegon Lake at times. So I'm open to suggestions. Maybe we could work with the other townships in the city of Montague. And I'm hoping maybe the mayor will raise his hand and say, I'll do something.
Do something, what is it you would like me to do? Point Candy to the committee.
Oh, no, not another committee.
Things don't happen without champions. You definitely have been a champion, and I hope you continue to be a champion for this.
You want me to do this?
I would be grateful if you were willing to do that. I think it's something that it definitely needs to be acknowledged. And I know you had a large impact on that happening. So
It was a big deal for our community.
I think it's appropriate that you continue to follow up on it.
But I'm going to need some help.
I'll help however I can.
Are you going to be on the committee?
Okay.
Okay, got that. And anybody else who wants to be on the committee? What? Yes, ma'am.
So White Lake Association, and I'm one of the board,
Yes.
we've already gotten funds to be the first lake to be tested after delisting. And our meeting is September 10th at 5:30 for details.
Sure. That's a little confusing, but let's chat.
Okay.
Let's chat. I'm not sure I understand, but I'm all for groups working to protect the lakes. So
You might be able to get some kind of a special article in the Beacon or the Chronicle or something
good idea.
talking about how it came up
Yeah.
in all the work that was done, and what a good thing it is that we did get delisted, because it is a big deal.
The White Lake Beacon used to be about this thick, and they had some excellent writers in the Chronicle as well that really helped to provide information. That's a good idea.
Because even this year earlier, they had a special section in it, which was many pages, and much more than you would need.
Oh, okay.
That was for celebrating Ludington's 150th anniversary.
So maybe they would do a
So-
special for us.
Right. They might be able to do that.
Can you contact them?
They would need all the content though.
I've got all
He's a
kinds.
good writer.
I
I'm from the Beacon, so I'll catch up with you after.
yes. Let's do this. And one exciting thing, I just found this out today. So Dr. Rick Radisky from Annis Water Resources Institute worked on this as well, and I worked with him, and he was amazing. And the two of us wrote up a little piece about this, and it is just published in the International Association of Great Lakes Researchers newsletter. So kind of a little bit geeky publication, but still we feel good about it. So anybody who wants to participate, because we're short of time. Thank you, Mayor.
All done?
Mhm.
I just have a question, Scott, and I'm sure you can clarify.
I'm curious to understand, when it rains on the Monday night when Fetch has their outside concert, how does that exchange with the theater work? I saw, my question is prompted last accounts payable, there was a payment made to the artist, and it made me wonder, how does that exchange work? What's the?
Yeah, I talked to Beth briefly about it. I'll get more details from her, and pass something on to council, exactly how that works.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
I was walking a few days ago down by the marina, and I was talking with one of the boaters who keeps a big boat there, and I asked him how things go there, how he likes it, and so on. And he said there's some positive things, but there's a number of negative things too, and things that we could improve on to make ourselves more attractive to the boaters and make more money with it and stuff too. And he mentioned in particular our season being shorter than it should be. For instance, he said a term that I had never heard of is the loopers, which are the people that go down up the ocean, down the seaway and through here or whatever. He said they all stop on their way over to Chicago and stuff. And he says those people are very well off. They're willing to spend money and whatever, and we don't even have a drop box for them to put money in. And they come through typically after Labor Day, or at least a lot of them through after Labor Day. He said there's an opportunities for sell a lot of gas, to collect some, some slip fees and so on. He also mentioned that, he said, for instance, that dock and that dock and that dock are condemned right now. And I didn't challenge what he meant by that, but he says that means that the end posts are broken because they've been rammed or whatever. And he says they don't seem to get fixed. He said one of the things for the people that keep boats down there is they need a place to park. They should have some private parking and so on. But his indication was that people from the city haven't made an effort to find out what is needed and how they can improve it. And I know there's a marina committee, a marina board, but it sounds like there's some opportunities to make things better. I was hoping that he would be here today because I invited him to come and talk. He's not here.
His wife is.
Oh, Bonnie. This is his wife, Bonnie.
Yes. I'm Bonnie Conley. Craig's my husband. And that's who you talked to. He had a client meeting tonight that he couldn't get out of. But yeah, the condemned docks, because of those posts, they can't be rented out. So they're missing out on seasonal slip fees or transient slip fees for boats that could be using those docks, but they can't be used. They had a seasonal boat, they had to move to a different slip, and then they, because it was condemned, and so the condemned slip then just sits vacant for the season. And there are boats that get turned away. I've had my nephew comes over from the Howell area to fish, and he's been turned away saying we don't have any open slips. But there are slips that could be fixed. My husband fixed ours with a couple of 2x4s and some bolts, so it's not an expensive fix. So he's frustrated about that. There are in the postseason loopers. Even people are just shocked that they can come in and not pay anything. And we've always said if they just put a slot in the door of the office where people could fill out an envelope and say it's on the honor system, it's $40 cash a night, they would abide by. People would do it. They would pay it. I'm sure there would be people that would pass and not pay, but I'm sure there would be a lot of loopers that would be happy to pay. Parking for boaters is a frustration whenever there's events, and then there's private events or birthday parties and weddings and things like that, and we can't leave the marina area on days like that because we can't get a parking spot when we come back. So that's frustrating. The bubblers are constantly clogged, and I think this is maybe the 5th set of bubblers that we've seen get burned out. So it's expense. You're spending money, throwing good money after bad, season after season. because they don't get cleaned out during the week. They just get all clogged up and then the motors burn out and they sit there. So that's an issue. We had been really frustrated with people randomly wandering up and down the docks and fishing from the docks and leaving all their chaff behind hooks and lures and hooking canvases and doing damage to boats. But the new signs that were approved, and whoever did that, thank you so much, because that's been a tremendous help. We've had far fewer people come down the docks and fish. Save the guy that Craig told you about, who came down with his wagon and his zero gravity lounger and camped right out behind a transient and fished right behind his boat, even when he was asked kindly to leave, but he didn't go. But anyway, I think those are the biggest issues. Other than staff training, there seems to be a lack of staff training. Staff doesn't come out and help boaters when they come in. A lot of times the ones that do don't seem to know what they're doing, and that's dangerous for the boaters and especially for the dock staff. There are a lot of great kids, but they need training, because otherwise they will just sit in the marina office and do nothing, which is what mostly happens. So you're paying kids who could be sweeping, they could be cleaning, they could be doing a lot of things that are just typical marina tasks that don't happen because they just don't have good training. They're not bad kids. Corey, when she's there, she's amazing. She never stops moving. And when she was cleaning the other day, cleaning the bugs off all the light posts, I said, "Oh, you got the good job." She goes, "Well, nobody else wants to do it." So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Couple things. Actually, it was one picture that you put up the other day. I noticed that Shelby obtained some funds from the Gerber Foundation and Consumers Energy Foundation for their new playground. That might be a couple more options to pick from, or clean, whatever we need to do for that. That'd be nice to, like CatchMark we talked about last week, or 2 weeks ago. I mean, we get some money from them. We can put their name up just like Shelby did. So the other thing, nobody else has mentioned it, Warner Street is awesome. It's going to be a speedway. Sorry, Roger.
Already is. It's beautiful, but yeah.
It's gorgeous. I do appreciate the people at the bottom of the hill that put up a thanks to the worker sign. I thought that was pretty cool as well. I'll give them kudos for that, and that's really all I have.
I have nothing.
I have nothing tonight.
City manager, you have anything?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Okay, well, for me, I want to say thank you for all the people that came here. We want your input. As far as myself personally, I'm happy to meet with any member of this community at their convenience, at their preferred location at any time, and discuss any issues that you have with you. I'm available. Call City Hall, make an appointment. I'll be happy to talk with you on any subject. With that, we'll move on to public comment. Now, I know we've had a number of individuals come after the fact that thought the public hearing was at 6:30, so if you're here to ask questions about that, this would be an opportunity to come and ask your questions. Yes?
I actually have a suggestion for the school for parking. I was thinking they could maybe swap where the buses drop off, all that parking area for pickup anyways. All the parents park there and then walk up to the building to get their students. And I only suggest that because my girls did go to Montague and it worked really well. But drop off in the morning at the elementary, you just drive through, but then the parents could park and then the buses could go to where parents normally drop them off in that little curve. I think that could stop a lot of the traffic, because I have my daughter ride the bus just because the line was so crazy. The first day we rode on a scooter and we passed everybody. So yeah, I think that would probably work better than what it is now. And then for the warning, I don't know, I grew up in New Ware and we had sirens. It went off every night at 6 o'clock, so I don't know if that's possible, but that was a suggestion for that too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any public comment or questions?
Yeah. Two issues that came up was first the schools and the parking, or the dropping off the kids. I live on Division and Market, real close. And in the morning, it's ridiculous. In the afternoon, it's ridiculous. Now, with the idea and the mentality of this is a small town, this is a school, so we help each other out, that's the one side of it. And I tend to lean that way. I try to remember around 3:15 to 3:45, stay away from Elizabeth, stay away from Division and Market, Livingston. However, I'm from the old school. We have newer people moving in. And given the opportunities for tempers and such, it is quite dangerous where people would have the tendency to drive down, say for instance, Livingston on the wrong side of the road, heading towards the school, and then they turn to get on Market and it's closed up. Where are they going? You got people coming out of the elementary school. It could cause a lot of frustration. I have had the opportunity to try to drive down Elizabeth. I don't live in that neighborhood, so I was surprised when last year I'm like, oh my God. I ended up going down the alley and diverting around, but not everybody's going to do that. I realize it's not an easy solution, but just as a witness of the possible angst that can erupt from such a situation, especially if someone's in a hurry, whatever. The other topic would be the sirens, the notification. For a number of years I worked for Shaw, older people. We had to deal with an issue as far as the fire sirens. Those people don't hear real well. Without notification, they're not going to move. Even with notification, often they wouldn't move unless they saw smoke. So it's something that I feel it needs to be addressed. I have sent an email to Miss Gavin there, then Miss Keegan, and I left a phone message with her this morning. I have yet to hear back from her, but I'd like to discuss from her, number one, who's responsible for it? Number two, what are the possibilities? Because I do see a need for that, a very critical need. Way back when, we did have sirens, and they went off every Friday at noon, and we knew it. And there was an individual who used to work for the police department who took great pride in keeping that system going. I don't know where he has gone, but I was alarmed and surprised when I found out they weren't working. I just always figured they worked. So it is a consideration in my estimation, in my opinion. We need to have something that can notify people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
One more, Steve.
Yes.
Just my property's in the rehabilitation district. I don't know what that means. And I thought I had to be here at 6:30, so I missed it.
Yeah, we got a short.
Shorter. If the district is adopted tonight, then what that will allow is for certain qualified rehabilitation and improvements to receive up to a 10-year tax abatement, 100% on that improvement. Good example is if you put a new roof on for $100,000, you wouldn't have to pay taxes on that for up to 10 years. New things like, I don't know, an addition to a building would not qualify. And what that is, that's a determination by the Department of Treasury in Lansing.
Is that? Answer your question?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to old business, which I don't believe we have any old business. And move on to new business, which is resolution 2427, water main relocation. Scott, you wanna tell us about this, please?
Yeah, the county road commission is redoing the culvert basically in front of the library. That's gonna require the relocation of our utilities, consumers' utilities. I think Verizon has already been out there. I think they were out there working last week. So it's a major reconstruction. The road is planned to be closed September 3rd. I think that's next Tuesday. I'm not sure what the duration is, but 6 weeks. So this will, excuse me, require us to relocate the water main. And this resolution before you is to award the contract to Terra, who just finished the awesome looking Warner Street. They're very qualified. They did a ton of water work on Warner Street. And this is in coordination with the work that they're going to be doing with the road commission versus having, too many cooks in the kitchen. And a lot of times when that happens, you've got multiple contractors on site and something goes wrong, the fingers get pointed everywhere. We had that incident with the Warner Street water tower when we had that repainted. It took about 2 months for all that paint to start peeling off, and we heard that it was designed poorly, built poorly, it was steel from China, the paint wasn't mixed right, the temperature, everybody in the world, because again, we kind of pieced that together with the contractors. So this would be a contract for $396 to have our work done in conjunction with all the work being done by the road commission.
We need a motion.
I'll move to support resolution 2427.
Second.
Okay. Your question?
My question is, since this is a project on a county road, and we don't need this water main replaced, why do we have to bear the expense of replacing it? Did consumers bear the expense of replacing all the poles that they replaced out there? And did Verizon, or did the county pay them to do their work?
My understanding is it's incumbent upon the utilities to pay for relocation. Brian talked to the road commission a few times, and I think they discussed what the requirements were in the easement. So it's not unheard of when you have an easement that you have to bear the burden of relocating. We just did that with the sewer main out on Colby Street, the extension. If that has to get relocated, we would have to pay for it. It's actually not on Colby, but it's on private property. So it's not unheard of.
Okay.
Is there any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Kabala,
Yes.
Sickinga,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2427 is approved. Next is Commercial Rehabilitation District Establishment, Resolution 2428.
I'll move resolution 2428, the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this?
I just want to clarify one thing with Scott. Basically, the only thing that, if we approve this, that it's going to affect is something that's pretty much a business. I mean, nothing that's residential other than if it has 5 units.
Correct. Yep.
So anybody that lives along Colby Street on either side that's in that mapped area, there isn't anything that's going to affect them one way or the other.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. If there is no further discussion, roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Sickinga,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2428 is approved. Last up is public comment. Anyone have anything that they would like to say before we adjourn?
Oh, I had one thing I forgot.
Okay.
Is there gonna be a neighborhood meeting for the country club folks?
Brenda is still working on that.
Okay,
She was speaking with the gentleman, this morning.
okay. Good to get it going soon though, just to see if there are things we can help with.
Yep.
Okay, good, thank you.
Nothing else. Thank you all for coming. We're adjourned.
Thank you.